welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans, first responders transform their lives from the prayer room to the boardroom. I'm your host, Daniel Faust. We are in the superhero battle room, pressing lots of buttons, but it's about going into people's lives of their transformation, because when the buttons are pressed in the military, it launches nukes. We go over and launch transformation. So behind the scenes, we have Ryan Hunt. He is a veteran who has served his country and is now serving our community in a virtual way and more. Let's see if you can guess his branch as we're going over and interviewing him. And we're going to bring him to the stage to go hear about his transformational story. Hey, Ryan, do I have you?
You do, Daniel, and thanks for having me on your show. I've been waiting for this, excited. So thank you.
Well, after that, your whole life is now over. After that, man, such a sad way to go, I guess.
This is the apex. So
wow. Well, I hope the relationships from the bedroom to the boardroom are the apex, and I'm not the person that's the apex. I am not wanting to claim that on anything. So let's go talk about the apex of your military career. What inspired you to join the military?
Sure. So I joined the military really two different times. So the first time I enlisted, it was 1998. I enlisted as a 13 Fox, which is a fire support specialist, a FISTer, is what they're called. And I think the original reason really, a few things had actually happened. My father had just passed away, my grandfather, so the whole patriarch of my family had passed away. That I needed to pay for college. So I went off, and Sergeant Hunt left the Army about 3 years later, April of 2001. I went back to college in upstate New York. And of course, a few weeks into it, September 11 happened. And that transformed my life. I had a calling to return to military service. So I joined Army ROTC, finished college, graduated, commissioned, and returned as a Army officer. And served many years. I thought I was just going to go back real quick, lead some troops into combat, and get out. But some of that was naive thinking, and also my calling went on a little bit longer than I had planned. As they say, all plans fall apart on first contact.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was the same thing. I thought when I first came into the service, it was going to be initially 6 years. And then when I went to FTAC, which was like first term Airman Center, when they first built that, and saw like a really inspiring E9 Chief Master Sergeant, and thought that was going to be my dream. After I'm like, I want to be like him. And I'm retiring as an E6. So, well, that's a totally different story. So it's got to be God's plans, not our plans. When we make it our plans, it usually don't go over and go well. So I'm glad that in 1 year from now, this E6 will be done. So
congratulations. And
thank you.
That's huge. Thank you, from one veteran to another. Thank you for your service. And I'll say this, but I'm going to put a caveat to it. The grass is greener on the other side for retirement. But, having said that, I'm going to contradict myself and say that, the grass is greener where you sow the seeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about that daily. We're doing a retirement journey live. So if anybody wants to join the retirement journey, well, thank you. So as people want to go over and contribute, so I am seeing the green, the brown, and all the colors in between of the grass. So what about your time? How long were you in this overall? And when did you actually leave? Because you said you were in a lot longer than you anticipated.
Sure. So I have a total combined service, federal service, of 23 plus years, almost on 24. I originally ETS, Sergeant Hunt, originally ETS, like I said, in 2001. I returned after graduating, although I was in the reserves as what's called an SMP cadet. So I transitioned active duty after 9/11, joined Army ROTC, but also joined the reserves. And then upon commissioning, returned to active duty as a lieutenant. I was medically retired, actually, and I was put on what's called TDRL, which is a temporary retirement list. And that occurred in November of 2016. And I was fully retired to April 2021. So I was what I call no woman's land during that 5 years. But that's kind of that's my journey.
Yeah, and I think it was perfect timing in that particular regard because there's been a lot of things that have changed. I'll give an example sharing myself. So I broke my back in 17, had to learn how to walk again and everything else. So most people don't know that unless they meet me. And then it took about 5 years to go to a medical board, and it's totally different now. I went to a medical board and they said, "Hey, he can go over and still type on the keyboard, so let him press in." So then I was going to go up for round two of the med board, and I tried to add headaches and migraines. And then I talked to my doc, and he's like, "There's a guy right now that has a brain tumor that they still put back to active duty." So
I will.
it's very interesting now on how things are working. So I'm just retiring normal, not getting a medical retirement, but I'm still working with the VA. So
Yeah.
it's always providence
Uh,
in that time. Because I was talking to the doctors who said, if you would have did that 15 years ago with all your injuries, we would have medically retired you. But
That's
nowadays,
it.
because we're hurting so bad, they are basically profiling everybody. So it's not even TDRL. They just put you on a profile, send you to the
Yeah,
board, and then
a
they
dead
just
man's
do that.
profile. Yeah, and actually, full disclosure, I was actually an adjudicator at the Army PB in JBLM or Fort Lewis, and so
Mhm.
I did get to have some insight into how the medical cases are adjudicated. I actually adjudicated medical cases, and so I have a pretty decent understanding of it. And you're right, really, the medical board is a retention tool or
Mhm.
nutrition. It's a retention in terms of let's keep the people in, let's keep them out. But your story is a story of many, 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 many people that are still serving and veterans. They told me at one point, and just to let you know, I'm 100% on the VA side, but I'm also 90%, which the max is 75% on the DoD side. So
Mhm.
I'm maxed out as much as you can be maxed out. But at one point, I was told that, well, your injuries, they're not. You can listen. The colonel, to remain unnamed, opened up his drawer. He's like, "Well, you see what I have? I have Motrin." And it kind of funny because everyone talks about the Ranger candy, as they call it in the Army. But
Mhm.
he's like, "Well, I just take some Motrin and it solves all the problems." And I'm like, "Buddy, I think about him every day as I wake up here with arthritis from my neck all the way to my toes, and I'm like, my friend, one Motrin is not going to, and I'm not a big believer. I don't take a lot of the medications, which I know could have or have been prescribed in the past. I just don't believe it keeps your body clean. But one Motrin or one little tablet of Motrin or ibuprofen is not going to relieve the pain, unfortunately. So, to your point, yes, it's hard. Some in depending on the time of season of the military, it's sometimes harder to get out of and I don't mean that in a avoidance way, but sometimes it's hard to get out of the military via the medical board, and much more difficult when the recruiting numbers are lower. When retention
Mhm.
numbers are lower, and they need to keep people, you know, engaged, whether that's behind is a chairborne ranger, as we hear, or are doing something
Mhm.
else. I mean, it's important actually to be a chairborne ranger, actually, because everyone in the military plays an important part. So I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying, everyone does play an important part. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes it, it would be best if we could just move off to greener pastures if it's our time to do it. Luckily, after a huge battle which took more than 5 years, I finalized my stuff and was fully retired. PDRL is the term is, but it wasn't even understanding the process. It came with a lot of challenges, lots and lots of challenges.
And that's a perfect segue into our next question. So, how was that transition? So, it was pretty recent. It was amidst after COVID and everything else. And I didn't even know that you've been out just recently. When I met you, I thought, I'm like, okay, he's been out like 3 to 5 years and he already has this established awesome business and everything else. And you were just brand new off the cuff when I met you. So how has that
Well,
transition been?
it starts that, remember, I'd left the army really essentially three times. So the first time I was enlisted, Sergeant Hum left, and the transition there was a lot different than the transition in November of 16. And the huge difference is it was pre 9/11, and some of the transition programs had not been established uh, as much as they are now. They're more developed, we'll just say, than they were back then. And also, I was definitely a lot younger and didn't understand really. I thought being Sergeant Hunt, I would just walk out and be the CEO of a company, but unfortunately, that's just not how it played out. And originally, I started by looking for jobs, and I was shut down. Finally, given an opportunity to be a security night manager, and giving me an extra quarter over the other security managers. But I went back to college too. But that was just to say that it was very hard to make that transition and to find the jobs. Didn't fully understand the VA, was a little too proud to actually, put in a claim for those benefits that I definitely deserved. Just, you have to understand, my philosophy is this, and this is just a philosophy that's carried me through the entire time. Is, if the Army or Air Force or any of the military services issues you a phone, and you sign your hand receipt, and then you say, you know what, I hate what I'm doing, and you throw your phone against the wall and you break it. Well, Uncle Sam's going to come for you, and they're gonna adjudicate. You're going to have to pay them for that phone. The same thing is with you when you went to the recruiter. You are a GI, a general issue. You signed on the dotted line with your serial number, your social security number, 111111111. That was the hand receipt to Uncle Sam, and they made a commitment to you as part of the national. You're the national treasure, and so they have to fix it or compensate for it, and maybe a little bit of both. And so when I left the army the second time, November of 2016, a lot different scenario. I had actually already established my business. The original business was established in 2015. 10th Mountain has had many evolutions, if you will, and has done different things. I'm just a kind of a creative mind, so I've done a lot of different things, and we can go into that too. But so I was actually established in really the no man's land of TDRL. I was essentially out. So your assessment wasn't incorrect. I was really already retired in 2016, but I still had to do medical cases and have the final adjudication, which it was a no-brainer the way it was going to go, because with TDRL, it's, will these conditions improve? Well, some things are going to actually potentially even get worse. Arthritis is going to get worse. Neurological issues have the potential of getting worse over time, more than likely going to get worse. PTSD, migraines, like you were saying, all these things are going to get worse over time. And you can help with, eating right, eating better diets. I'm being a little hypocritical because I love food. So it's hard for me, for sure. But anyways, yeah.
So we'll go from there in a moment when we come back from our sponsor break.
You have served. No matter if it was in the military or civilian service, you deserve to live good. Live good in health. Live good in wealth. Live good in so much more. At Live Good, the global wholesale buyer club, we empower you to take your mission to the next level. Are you ready to live good? We all struggle in life. No matter the barriers, we do not need to stay there. Each day is an opportunity to step into better health. Each day is an opportunity to step into wealth. Each day is an opportunity to step into dreams. Live Good, the global wholesale buyers club, empowers all these steps and more. Ready to be empowered? Grab the link to learn more.
Welcome back. Before we went to commercial break, we were speaking to Ryan Hunt, talking about his transition, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and talking about how to go over and to balance that with all the injuries he's had and being entrepreneurial and trying to stay healthy at the same time. So we're going to bring him back and speak about more about how he's pivoting to his current community. Hey, Ryan,
Hey.
before we went on break, we were talking about just, man, a lot. It's like you got out, you came back in, then you semi got out, and now you're out of the service, and then dealing with all the aches, the pains, the ailments, and didn't even know how much suffering you go through, because I would never thought about that. It's like a lot of invisible wounds that we went over and have. So what made you pivot to serve your current community? So you were kind of starting 10th Mountain, but when you got out in 23, what made you to make that next pivot? Because now you were fully retired. Was there a next pivot, or were you fully set to go? And I know you're serving multiple communities now. So what made you pivot to do what you're doing today?
Sure. So it was just a small correction. It was to April of 2020 when I got out. Sorry, I hopefully you can't hear the dogs that are chirping in the background. Um, but it was April of 2021, and was already set. I had a business already established, and the pivot um, into the other communities. I think I'd already been a part of the veteran community. I mean, it seems like a Captain Obvious statement, but I had really already been engaged with it, interacting with groups like the Veteran Tribe, and even with my first business endeavor, which was Mountain Up, which was an apparel company still in existence. I had been already interacting and giving back to the veteran community, for example, through the National Association of the 10th Mountain, through the National Ranger Association with their Best Ranger competition, and with various other nonprofits. I had already been giving back to the space, and I just felt like it was very important. I still do feel like giving back to the veteran community that has given me so much is a critical piece to what I do. I'm not naive. You know, veterans do eat veterans. I hate to put it like that, but they do. And really, what I'm focused on is people, true people, honest people, transparent people, people of value that want to collaborate and network. I don't believe that everything has to be driven by the dollar. You know, I'm very altruistic. I was told this once at a pitch competition. They said, "You're too altruistic." And I was like, well, okay, I am altruistic because I want to give back. I want to continue to have selfless service and to give back to my community. And you know what I've learned is that if you are honest and you're full of integrity and you have grit, and you're really trying to collaborate and do good things out there, the money will follow eventually. So that's kind of. Did I answer your question there, Daniel? I could go off. I could make your ears bleed. Hopefully, your audience isn't unplugged from the internet because of me.
No, I just think that you serve your community is just an outpouring of what you served in the service, and altruistic or not, the business can go over and thrive. I just think that when we truly serve from the prayer room to the boardroom, it will go over and flow, but it will flow for the right reasons, not just flow for a moment. I've met several veterans that they have focused on the boardroom, and then they've done it backwards and everything else, and eventually it goes over and fails, and either through divorce, losing kids, and then sometimes losing jobs and everything else. It's like when you do it kind of backwards, that's why it goes over and fails. That's just my personal take on it. So I agree, the altruistic should be from the prayer room to the
And
boardroom.
one thing
So
I
I
would
think
tell
that's
you,
good.
and one thing I would tell you is iron sharpens iron. I don't know if you've heard that somewhere, but iron sharpens iron. So that to me means that people like us, we collaborate to elevate our networks, our growth as a human being, our growth in faith, our growth in business. So just something if you're watching this, a couple important things that I would say to you, but one important thing is just iron sharpens iron is very important. That's part of my motto, mantra. I don't know, one of those things, philosophies.
No, I would totally agree. The thing about iron sharpens iron, everybody just thinks like, well, it just gets better. Well, there's a lot of spark and there's a lot of friction, and we're going to go into that into our next question. So,
Yes.
probably as you going over and grown into the entrepreneurial world, and you've done the iron sharpens iron and sparks go over and fly. What is your secret fuel and pressure when those tough times come? When those sparks go over and fly?
Well, first off, I'm a stoic, really. So I, I'm pretty. I'm good under pressure, under chaos. Uh, this has been proven time and time again, whether it was for a final exam in high school, or playing football in high school, or wrestling, or martial arts, or unfortunately being blown up by a roadside bomb in Iraq, or being shot at, or whatever the situation was. I've always just been very calm and collected under fire, especially when it comes down and it counts, and you have to be, especially if you have people underneath you that are counting on you to be that, that person, to be the bedrock. You have to kind of learn how to control that and just understand. I think one important thing, actually, I guess the secret fuel to this, and this is something that's important in business, is being able to think of things many steps ahead. Being able to manifest what's going to happen. So thinking ahead is actually just manifesting and projecting that energy out. They say from your mouth to God's ears. That's really just manifesting those things. So when you're under fire, whether that's real fire or just saying under fire, it's just falling back on the basics, understanding who you are, what your values are, and having an understanding of what your education or your training is about, and that can guide you through those moments when you're under pressure. And just understand, the whole thing is, God is only going to put so much on you. He's going to put just enough on you to challenge you, so that you can do what? So you can start climbing higher. You can reach. We talked about the apex, but and of course, my company's 10th mountain, so I have to relate it back to a mountain. But it is truly, God's only going to put as much as you can handle on there, and then sometimes He's going to send a Sherpa to help you with that climb too.
I think that's really cool to go over and go reflect on, because I don't think most of the time we don't go over and do that. We don't think of how much we can handle. We don't think of how God's going to go over and help us in those times, and then also the people that come in those moments. So I think that's huge to go and remember in these moments, not think that we're alone. I think that's the enemy's tactic. I'm alone, I'm all by myself and everything else. And that us as a veteran community, I think we got that lie like tacked into our bodies in a sense that once we leave, we're alone, and we're not. So going into our last question, which you had no clue about, but if you ever watch the episodes, you should. All right. So 3 superhero tactics. We give this to every single person. So I'm just reminding people, it's like we give the answers to the test. So even if we don't give them to y'all in the interview, you'll know. So we want you to either think of yourself many moons ago, or maybe think of people that you mentored as you go into the multiple places. Even think of Mick, the moments that you like just a couple weeks ago. What would you give them is 3 superhero tactics, and you only have maybe about an elevator ride, or at least in Mick, it was an escalator ride, and then people parted ways. So what would you give them?
Wow, 3 tactics. Okay. Well, this isn't really a tactic, but I guess it is actually a tactic. Use Leverage the resources that are out there in the veteran community. I'll give you a great example. The Institute for Veterans and Military Families has the EBF program, which is free for veterans. I highly recommend it to you, Daniel. It's a great program that is huge. That will give you another superhero tactic, which is grow your network. Try to grow this network out there. Try to find people who share the same values and who want to collaborate, who want to unite, who want to grow and elevate what they're doing and what you're doing. And this isn't a superhero tactic. It's probably something that you either have or you don't have, but maybe you can practice it, which is grit. If you're going to be an entrepreneur specifically, you need, and potentially even in life, at least in my life, grit is something that's critical. And then this is a fourth one, but I've got to put it out there too, and I've already alluded to it, which is you're going in to do anything, be deliberate about it, make a plan, but realize that every plan will fall apart on first contact. So have a plan B, have a plan C, and plan D. At the worst case scenario, take the grit, burn the boats, and just attack the shore. So that's it. That's all I got. I'm all out of
Wow.
Schlitz, as they say here in Chicago.
There you go. Well, you and Cortez can go burn the boats together as you go over and speak. Actually, we did that like for our retirement catalyst party. I'm officially retiring 18 October 25, but I did a party in 24. We actually built paper boats.
There you go.
I told people to go over and write their dreams and their destiny and then write their struggles on the back and then toss it into the fire, kind of like Cortez tossed all the boats into the fire. So yeah, we did that. So this is my last boat. I haven't burnt it yet, but I will soon.
That's interesting. Very true. Actually, one of my it's not really something to brag about because of what the 529 conquistadors did to the Aztec Empire, but actually one of my great 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 grandfathers was one of the original conquistadors that arrived on the shores and unfortunately took down the Aztec Empire. It's a true story.
Now I
On my
feel really
father's
bad
side.
about this boat. I'm really
I just
disgracing
think
that historical story.
I just
Origami
think
and
it's
everything else.
interesting. I know. I'm sorry to ruin it like that, but but we got to put it into context. Context. It's a time and place. That was the nature of the world at that point. It was about conquest and about resources and exploration. So totally different. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, time and place, changes a lot of things. We're not talking about. Well, anyways, I don't want to go into politics or of history, but we could probably sit there and talk and debate all night
Yeah,
on
that's
just
another
that
story
topic
another
alone.
time. Well, let's
But if
tie
you
the
don't mind,
last back to you.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Let's
I'm
tie
sorry.
it
Go ahead.
again. Let's tie it again to end the show is about what resources you provide to our community, and then we'll close out the credits. So thank you for joining.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, Daniel. I definitely was looking forward to this. In terms of resources that I provide, the main thing that I provide is a virtual conference called Veteran Social Summit. It's free. I highly recommend everyone to attend. It's a 2-day event. Day number 1 is about the entrepreneurial journey. We're going to have some just dynamic speakers there. Day 2 is more focused on career, and we're actually going to have a career fair with actual companies and recruiters there to do on the spot interviews and talk to you about their organizations. Again, it's free. You can register for free at www.veteransocialsummit.com. That's the hugest resource that I offer and my knowledge. So if you need something, you're in the veteran community, you want to be inspired about how do I do this entrepreneurial thing, at least get some baby steps or get me to get you pointed in the right direction rather, definitely hit me up. I'm on LinkedIn. Very easy to find. Ryan Patrick Hunt, or put in Ryan Hunt 10th Mountain on the Google machine. It's going to populate pretty much right away. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to support the veteran community. And again, not to monopolize the time, but I will also tell you, not my resources, but Institute for Veterans and Military Families is an awesome starting point in terms of resources for the veteran community, whether that's for improving your career through certifications or through the entrepreneurial path. There's also another organization, Act Now, which is just a tremendous organization offering free resources. I know there's actually a ton of these different groups that are really helping the veteran organization. Of course, Military Influencer Conference is a great place to build your network and to learn more about the veteran community. So I highly recommend, go check that out if you have the opportunity and the resources to do it. And lastly, very important, is if you're a veteran, you're transitioning out, make sure that you learn about your veteran benefits that you have earned and that you deserve. And you can find out more information about that at www.va.gov. So va.gov. Don't forget that one. It's so huge, and a lot of people don't take the time and don't understand the VA system, get afraid of it, intimidated. There's people out here that we're more than happy to help you with that, including me. So thank you, Daniel, again. I appreciate it, and just a terrific show. And good luck with the retirement. I'll be watching your journey over the next year, and then your post transition as well.